So I wanted to join you in on the start of my new project. I'm really excited about starting something new, which I'm sure all you crafters out there can appreciate how I'm feeling. Today I found these lovely cot sheets that are cotton, and there's 4 of them, and they're going to be big enough to make a substantial size quilt. So I thought, oh great, and I've got all of these lovely materials, and I've got, this is what I've slow stitched before, these baskets, and they're full of all different materials. So I'm going to do a slow stitch quilt. This isn't a quick project that I'm planning, but it's going to be lovely to sit and hand stitch these pieces to squares of this cotton cot sheet, and then I'm going to join all the pieces together to make a big quilt. So yeah, I just wanted to show you how to start a project when you've got lots of little bits of fabric that you really like. Yeah, how to bring it all together. So the first thing you need to do is decide on the size of your square. So I've cut out this bit of cardboard into the size square that I'm wanting to make, and I've checked that it's a square by folding it end to end and checking that that tessellates, and then fold that way to that way and check that it tessellates. I don't need it to be a perfect right angle at this point, but so that's what I've done. I've just picked a bit of craft cardboard that I've kept, and that's going to be the size of the squares that I'm going to make out of these cotton sheets. And then of an evening, it's a nice portable project because this is the size square that you're going to be working with. You can sit with your nice little basket of goodies and your pin cushions and your threads, nice coloured threads if you want to contrast your threads, and we can sit and just slowly hand stitch a square an evening. It's going to be a lovely relaxing project, and at the end we're going to put all the squares together with a really neat back as well. It's not going to be a rag quilt, it's going to be a nice neat back as well, and we're going to have a lovely pure cotton quilt to sleep under. So just lay your template onto your cot blanket or your cotton fabric. I'm not going to include these edges because they're folded over double. I just want the single width, and then cut around so you've got your square. I'm trying to do this on a new setup, and yeah, I need to move that basket there. That makes it easier. So we've cut our square out of our cot sheet, our 100% cotton sheet, and then we're going to have a little rummage in our bits of fabric, and we're going to select some that we'd like to sew to this piece. This is the lovely part. You get to have a look at all the wonderful fabrics you've got in your stash and decide which pieces you'd like to put together in the square. Because we're making so many squares, we get to do this over and over again, which is lovely. And then yeah, so make sure you've got plenty of fabric to cover the square, and then these are nice pieces that are going round together, and then pop them in the basket, and then yeah, that'll do. And then in the evening, when you've got time to sit down, you take a little embroidery hoop, pop the cotton in if you want to, or you can just do it freehand, and then sew the pieces together. So this evening, when I sit down to watch a bit of telly, or I don't watch telly, but watch DVDs. I've got my pincushion, my embroidery hoop, backing fabric, and my lovely little bits of fabric. And I shall also take some cotton, and then I shall sit and sew. Also, I've got a little lavender pillow that I've made that just smells amazing and helps with the relaxation of the evening stitching. By unscrewing this top little screw and taking out the middle piece of plastic, and then you lay your piece of fabric. Just find my backing bit. This is the cot sheet that I cut into a square. Lay that over the centre of your, and then pop the hoop with the screw bit over the top. So I'm just going to lay the square of fabric over the inner hoop, and then place the outer hoop over the top. Just push it into place. It can be a bit fiddly. Just put it over. And it tight. I'll just show you that again. So take your piece of cotton sheet and over the circle, lay the outer circle over the top, put it tight, and then screw the little screw at the top together, and that will hold it. That's it, pop. You can feel it pop in place and hold the fabric nice and tight, not too taut, but taut enough to be able to pop in through. We take our first bit of fabric. I really like this rose bit of fabric. It's a little bit on the big side, so I'm just going to lay it down and work out how much I want to start my slow stitching off with, and then just cut and lay it on. And find a pin, a sharp one. I like these little glass bead-headed pins. The glass beads not as big as they used to be, but they're still really good. And if they're still in your work when you iron it, it won't melt the head. This being glass, it won't melt. Pin on each side. When we're ready to thread our needle, you can get what's called a quilter's needle. They're a bit sharper than the average sewing needle. Just ask in your local haberdashers. And if you find you're struggling to thread a needle, I found out the other day there's actually a right and a wrong side to a needle, so if it won't thread, just turn it round and see if it will thread easier through the other side of the eye. I'm just going to tie a little knot, because it's going to be on the back side of the fabric. That's going to secure my sewing. You can just do several little stitches all in one go, and also anchor your sewing down. And we're ready to start. Very excited. I'm just going to do running stitch all the way around this piece of fabric, folded to the cloth sheet, back in. That's just in and out. Back stitch. And come back on itself. This is a bit I love. It's just so relaxing. Take the pin up. And then stitch all the way along, all the way around, until you get back to the start. Once you've done that, lay another piece of fabric over the bit that you've just stitched, and then we're going to pin this in place. We're going to put the pins where I want the actual stitching to go, because I want it to cover the stitching of the previous little piece of fabric. Put that in and pin up, and then we're going to stitch along there with the back stitch again. And once that's done, we'll fold it over. Just press it with your fingers. There we go. It's looking good. So I'm going to use this bit of fabric, and I'm going to fill in this gap here. I'm not going to lay it over like I did the last time and then fold it back. I'm going to fold it first, lay it in, and then stitch it down. So fold that edge in, feel it, again press it with your fingers, and it should just hold. With it being cotton, it should take. So hold a bit of pressing and lay it in place, even enough to fold over that side, like so, and then it's going to sit in there, and I'm going to stitch it in place. So I need a couple of pins. Pin that bit. It's going to take us right to the edge of our material, and again tuck, fold, fold and tuck, and then pin that piece. I'm going to sew that in place too. And I'll slip the pin in. And again. I'm just going to sew along that edge and that edge. I'm going to use a contrasting colour so this stitching shows up. Just add a little detail to the quilt and make it look homemade, handmade rather than homemade. That's the point of making something yourself. You don't want it to look too good that it looks like a machine's made it. There's my needle. There it is. Again, just thread your needle. Do you want to go in? Come up in the corner there, make sure you catch all of the fabric, the folded fabrics, and all the way through to the backing fabric. Be quite tough with a few layers of fabric. Just make sure your needle goes through all of the layers and secures your beautiful piece of fabric next to the other one with this contrasting pink colour. It should look really pretty. sewing in and out, in and out. So relaxing. What I love about crafts is to make something beautiful and relax doing it. I'll send that bit to there. I'm going to put this lovely blue bit in here. And I'm going to do possibly a long one all the way along. Or you could go that way with that bit. This is the bit where it's creative. Let's see where the bits of fabric fit best and where they look nicest. And like that. So I'm going to put that one in there. Just cut these messy. I'm going to place this piece of fabric here, and again I'm going to fold it over and stitch it in. Again, pin and stitch. An extra little bit, I can just cut that off so it's in line with the other piece, because we're going to lay a big bit all the way across. So you could leave it there, but it's a waste of a pretty little bit of fabric that you might be able to use next time. So I'm going to sew from there to there and that to there with a back stitch, and then we're going to lay this other bit of fabric. I'm going to do it this way and then flip it. Nice sharp seam. So I've sewn it with a running stitch, back stitch, and this is what it looks like. Now just press that seam and it will lay nice and flat against the cot sheet backing. I think my slow stitch is starting to look quite pretty now. I'm enjoying all the stitches and the colours of the fabric. So I get to select another piece in my little basket. This is my favourite part of the patchwork process, is selecting the materials, different coloured fabrics. I just lay them on and see which one I like the look of, which one wants to go where. Back to the template square, so we've got a complete perfect square, and then we're going to cut a square of the bump material out, and also a square of fabric. So we've got plenty to sew together on the back, making a nice neat back on our quilt. How I attach the back and the wadding with these little clips, and then we're just quilting through all the pieces. So we've got the bump next to the slow stitched square with that oversized piece of backing on the back, and then I've rolled it up under the clips on all four sides, so I'm not going to stitch that piece of white cloth to the back of here in error, and so it's rolled up on the corners, and I'm just quilting through all the layers. And you can do a regimented quilt sort of stitch in lines, or you can do a crazy stitch sort of all over the place, but as long as you're going through all the layers, you're going to quilt the batting, the front and the back together, and you can work back into these missed stitches with another piece of cotton, and then your back and your front will look as neat as each other. When we get to the corner or the edge, I can unravel the backing piece and stitch right up to the edge there, and then when I'm complete I can roll it back on, and that stops me just stitching that in error. Once I've finished stitching, I can unroll my piece of work. Just take these clips off. These clips are amazing. And as you can see, I've got quilting right up to the edge. That just holds all the 3 layers together. And later on in the video, I'll show you how to put your backs together neatly, so your quilt looks as good on the front as it does on the back. I'm going to do a little love heart. Don't know if you can see that from the back, but I've quilted a love heart into the middle of my stitching. So when I turn it over, I'm possibly going to do that on every piece, every square bit. I'm going to put a heart in the middle and then just crazy quilt around it. So that's the front of my work. You can sort of see the heart in the middle there being quilted. And then this is the edge that will be joined together for the back. Each piece will be unique and hand sewn, and it's definitely going to be a labour of love. But I've really enjoyed this first square of my cot quilt, slow stitch cot quilt. But yeah, I hope I've inspired you to get creative with your scraps. Yeah, there's my finished article. Thanks for watching my channel. I really enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.